So how do these two new Gen 2 12-volt impacts compare to the rest on the market? So on the L1000 here, testing the max torque here in reverse. First up, the Durofix. Of course, this is the same thing as AC Delco. Yeah, kit-wise, pretty expensive at $200 with the 4 amp hour. Didn't produce the greatest here at roughly $197. Next, we have the Makita with the kit 2 amp hour, claimed $120. But here you can see roughly around $78. And with the 4 amp hour, things don't get much better. Pretty much about the same, showing roughly around 84. Now with the DeWalt with a 2 amp hour, it's producing roughly around 188. And with the kit 5 amp hour here, it's producing a little bit of a boost there with 213 foot-pounds. Now the Skill is one of the cheaper units here, kit-wise $100, coming with a 2 amp hour. But as you can see, it barely edges out above the Makita here with roughly 102 foot-pounds. And when you run the 4 amp hour, pretty much the same deal, just a little bit better than the 2. Now the HyperTough Gen 1 here shuts off there at 88 foot-pounds. But when we switch to the 4 amp hour, things are decent here with roughly 146 foot-pounds. Now Gen 2 with the 4 amp hour kit battery does a little bit better here at 155. Milwaukee Gen 1 with a 2 amp hour around 233. Now it does see a boost in performance when we run the 5 amp hour high output here up to roughly 260 foot-pounds. But the Gen 2 running the 2.5 here produces roughly 330. And then when we run that 5 amp hour high output, has a little bit more of a gain there, up to around 362. So for the master data, of course, I tested forward and reverse. Now these numbers are averages of 3 pulls per battery per direction. Up in the top right-hand corner, we have the kit price. Then over on the left-hand side here, we have the individual battery prices. So with the Makita here, not a real big difference here between 2 amp hour and 4 amp hour again, and not too much between forward and reverse. Now looking at DeWalt, yeah, there's a little bit of a gain here, moving on up to the 5 amp hour battery, but overall pretty much the same. With the older Milwaukee, yeah, as long as you're not running that 1.5, numbers are pretty decent. Again, we see the boost there using the 2.5 or the 5 amp hour. Now we're looking at that Gen 2, yeah, quite a big difference when we go to the high output batteries. With the Duroflex, definitely a good boost using a 4 versus a 2 amp hour. Looking at the Skill here, not really much of a gain going to the 4. Older HyperTough, you definitely don't want to be running the 1 and probably not the 2. And the second generation, of course, 4 amp hour does a little bit better than the first gen. And then we see a little bit of a boost, not much there with that 6 amp hour. So max torque using a kit battery, obvious here, Milwaukee on top, followed by the first gen, followed by DeWalt, Durofix, HyperTough Gen 2, Skill, and Makita rounding out the bottom. Then we look at max torque with the best available battery. Again, Milwaukee, DeWalt, Durofix, HyperTough, Skill, and Makita. So here I have the driving rig like normal. Again, all I'm doing here is providing a consistent load on the fastener. That load from compressing this cylinder is being transferred into this cylinder, which is lifting this weight. And also I do have additional weight under the cylinder because this is a pass-through cylinder because we were moving up to a larger fastener. So the M12 Gen 2 here with a 5 amp hour high output lifts the weights in an average of roughly 15 seconds. Now when you compare that to the Durofix here, yeah, things aren't very good. And it actually takes an average of around 55 seconds. So we're going to have to speed this up. With the driving test rig, kit battery, Milwaukee DeWalt, first generation Milwaukee, DeWalt with a 3 amp hour, then the Skill, Hyper Tough, Milwaukee with that 2 amp hour, Durofix, and Makita. Best available battery, we see Gen 2 Milwaukee, DeWalt, Gen 1 Milwaukee, Skill, Hyper Tough, Makita, and Durofix. So last place, going to give it to Makita here. Had the lowest performance for torque and speed there. So it has 3 modes. So you have high, low, and the auto shut off. So yeah, nothing real special here. Made in China. Next, the Durofix. It did okay, but it's quite bulky and expensive for that performance. And when you look at it side by side, you can just see how much bigger it is compared to the Gen 1 Milwaukee. But if you don't like this setup here on the Gen 2 for selection, you'll really hate it here on the back of the Duroflex. So we have a selection button, and then you could sit here in the forward direction. You have a total of 4 levels. When all 3 LEDs are lit, that's full torque. Now in reverse, things are a little bit different here. No LEDs lit is full torque. Hit it again, you have a second mode with all LEDs lit, and that's your torque shut off. So very confusing. You can see that here in the instructions. For forward full power output, you have to have all the LEDs lit. For reverse, you want none of the LEDs lit. Very confusing. But other than that, it is made in Taiwan, and the batteries are the same for the AC Delco line. Skill, not really impressive. Yeah, you can get a kit for around $100. I was expecting a little more here. Now you do have a total of 4 modes and the ability to turn the ring light on and use it as a flashlight. So mode-wise, low speed, medium speed, high speed, and then reverse control that RM with that auto stop function. DeWalt, decent performance, but we definitely need an update here. Quite old compared to the rest of the impacts on the market. Really simple design. You have no speed selection or auto stop. But again, decent performance considering its age. And it is made in China. So in third place, this might actually surprise you here, I'm gonna put the Hyper Tough. Really not too much different between Gen 1 and Gen 2, other than we have 2-speed control now on top, and in the second speed, this impact is about 100 RPM faster. But one of the biggest upgrades is the old one came with a 2 amp hour in the kit, where the new one comes with a 4 amp hour, along with a port style charger, instead of having to plug into the back of the battery. But you go from 0.4 amps to 2.4 amps out. So quite a big jump here in charging times with this new charger. So yeah, not the biggest update here, a little more speed, gives you a little more torque. But to me, the big update is the charger in the kit. In the kit coming with a 4 amp hour battery with an MSRP of $55. Second place, gonna be the Gen 1 Milwaukee. I've had this one for a while. Tested actually pretty good, even though it's had some wear. And ideally, you're running the 2.5 or the 5 amp hour, which, yeah, is to be expected. I really don't have much complaints for it, other than I would have liked a ring LED on the front there. But again, overall, it's been pretty good for me. So clearly, based on performance, I'm going to give Milwaukee the first place here. It is way above the competition right now. Just like the previous generation, you have a total of 4 modes. Now selecting those modes, of course, we don't have buttons up here anymore. You have to go in neutral there with the direction button and then cycle the trigger twice. So you have to put the forward reverse there in neutral and then cycle the trigger twice to change the modes. For some reason, I found that it seemed to be easier while running the impact to go into the neutral mode, and then by accident you may cycle into the next selection. But as of right now, I think it's just going to take a little more time to get used to that. My biggest complaint actually with this is the battery compartment. And people have pointed out these tabs to help support the battery better, which, yeah, that's a great idea. But with a lot of testing, I found that it seems to damage the case of the batteries. But you can see some wear there in the case on the back, along with the ribs on the front. Same thing with my other high output battery and the other batteries actually tested. And you can see the plastic dust there on those clips. So yeah, the selection, not really a big concern right now to me. I think it's going to take more time to get used to, but what I don't care for is the amount of wear on the batteries. But definitely a nice upgrade in performance. I do like the tri-LEDs on the front there, but another thing also to note that this is now made in China versus the previous generation being made in Mexico. So with that, if you already have M12, yeah, you're probably going to get this anyway. Definitely the highest performance here on the market. But if you're looking for a DIY budget unit, I really don't think you can go wrong with this Hyper Tough now. And it also has a 3-year warranty. So I'll leave the links below like normal. Let us know if you have any of these and how they've worked for you. And at the very end will be the spec tables like normal. Hopefully you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.